Hey guys, happy Sunday to everyone, and in honor of it being Sunday, I am going to be presenting you today with one of the all-time Caribbean Sunday staple dishes, and that's brown stew chicken. Now, Sunday dinner is very, very important to me, and it's just because of my culture and my family made it that way. No matter what day you didn't cook, you were gonna cook a meal on Sunday. Sundays growing up for me, I remember waking up to Sunday breakfast and Sunday dinner ready by before noon. So brown stew chicken does differ depending on the part of Caribbean you're from. So the rendition I'm going to be showing you today is how I grew up eating it, how I grew up seeing my mom making it. And actually, there was points when I was so tired of stew chicken that I would actually swap out the stew chicken in my house with a friend of mine down the block that her family was from Trinidad, and her mom would always make stew chicken with white rice and callaloo and crab, and my mother makes the stewed chicken with rice and peas and cabbage, and we would usually swap our dinners because we were both tired of eating our mother's food. So that's my Sunday dinner, spat. Anyway, so first thing is I want to show you guys this. Now, this is a Dutch pot, okay? And I guess you could kind of say it's, similar to like a Dutch oven, but the importance of cooking Caribbean food in this pot is like astronomical. Like, and it could be all in my head, but I just feel like whenever I don't cook it in a Dutchy pot, it doesn't come out the same, and if it's in my head, I don't care. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. Go get you a Dutchy pot. Secondly, so this video is actually going to start pretty much the night before. So last night I filmed me seasoning up the chicken because that's important. Seasoning up the night before, it has two benefits. One, the chicken is going to be even more seasoned throughout, and two, it just takes a step out of what you have to do for today. So the chicken's already washed, cut up, seasoned, and so now all we have to do is throw it on the stove and start stewing it. So let's get started. Jamaican style brown stew chicken. Okay, so this is our stew chicken prep, which I recommend doing the night before, and we're just gonna go right into it and put together our spice blend. So this is a teaspoon of good old Lawry's seasoning salt. Then we're gonna follow that up with some sea salt, another teaspoon. Then we're gonna go ahead and drop a teaspoon of black pepper. Then we're going to do a teaspoon of dark brown sugar. I'll say a heaping teaspoon of dark brown sugar and make sure it's all packed in there. Okay. Then we're gonna do a teaspoon of Maggi chicken season up. And if you can't find this, you can probably replace this with like a adobo all-purpose seasoning, the Goya brand. Then we are going to go down with a teaspoon of onion powder and a teaspoon of garlic powder. Come on. Then we're going to do 2 teaspoons of paprika, and not smoked paprika, but just regular paprika. And I'm sure you can actually use smoked paprika, but it wouldn't be traditional to the flavor. So that's 2 teaspoons of paprika and a half of teaspoon of ground ginger. Oh, that's too much. Half a teaspoon of ground ginger. So then we're going to go ahead and just sort of mix it all together really nice. Make sure everything's blended. And at this point, you don't have to wait until the seasoning goes on the chicken to find out if it's where you want it to be. whenever you put your little spice blends together, go ahead and taste it. Because if it doesn't taste good by itself, chances are it won't taste good on your food either. So let's go ahead and taste this. All right. And that's right on the money. Okay, so let's grab our chicken. So now right here I have a 3 and some change pound organic chicken, which has been washed with, oops, sorry about that, which has been washed with lime and vinegar and cleaned. I cut it in about 10 or so pieces and dried it out real good with some paper towels. So before we put our spice blend in, we're gonna go ahead and drop a tablespoon of grapeseed oil over everything. And this is pretty much just gonna help us to help the seasoning to sort of blend nice and smoothly. Then I'm going to go down with a tablespoon of a pickled pepper condiment. And you should be able to find this just about anywhere in the condiment aisle now. It's pretty widespread. And what this is pretty much like, it's kind of like, it reminds me of Worcestershire sauce. Did I say that right? Worcestershire? It reminds me of Worcestershire sauce, but with spice. Okay? Then we're going to go ahead and we're just going to drop our seasoning blend all over. Okay. Then we're also going to add some fresh spices here. We're going to add 2 cloves of garlic, which I just crushed, which they kind of split into a couple pieces, but it's only 2 cloves. A couple of sprigs of thyme and about a 1/4 teaspoon of pimento seeds or allspice berries. That's also going to go right down in there. And then I am also going to add the end piece of a Scotch bonnet pepper. You know, I like to use my scissors for this, and it's soft because I usually buy a bunch of Scotch bonnets and keep them in the freezer. So just that end piece. So we didn't include any ribs, any seeds, or anything like that. Okay, let me just adjust this camera a little bit. I feel like it's too low. Okay. Whoops. Whoop. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we're just going to come down and we are just going to rub and combine everything together. Now this stew chicken is a little bit different than like stew chicken that they do in like Trinidad and Tobago, where they pretty much season the chicken with green seasoning, which is just a blend of herbs, spices, and veggies, scallions. And then they brown sugar in oil until it gets nice and brown, turns into browning that you can also buy. And then they, you know, put the chicken in and stew it down from there. So this is a little different. It has a lot of the same ingredients, but just pretty much incorporated at a different point. So now I'm just kind of rubbing everything in. Okay. All right, with my hands, make sure we get all the seasoning down onto the chicken. And then from here, we would just cover it with some plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge and get it ready to stew the next day. That's it, guys. Next, we'll stew. Okay, so now our first step to brown stew chicken is pretty much like what it's the name, brown stew. So first we are going to brown our chicken. So now I have my Dutchie pot. It's over medium heat. I'm gonna turn it up to in between medium and medium high. And so medium for me on my stove is a 5. And so I'm going in between like 6 and 7. First thing, so I have some grapeseed oil down in a pan that I had getting hot. And I didn't measure it. I just put enough to coat, let's say to coat the pan about twice. So let me wave it around so you can see. Okay, and the little particles you see in there is because I just quickly tested a piece of chicken to make sure the oil was hot enough to get us started. So then I'm gonna go in with 2 garlic cloves, whole, ain't gotta do anything to them, as well as about 4 pimento seeds. And we're just gonna have those sort of permeating the oil while we brown our chicken. So I'm gonna start putting our chicken pieces in. I always like to start with the dark meat first. So I'm gonna find my thighs. Okay, and this is the chicken that we seasoned up last night. So I'm gonna put, as you can see, the burner is not quite even on the stove, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to keep doing some shifting. So I'm going in with the thighs and our legs. And we don't want to crowd the pan too much, because what's going to happen when you crowd the pan too much is it's going to start to sweat and essentially sort of stew and let out too much moisture. And that's not what we want. We want a nice sear, nice dark brown color on this chicken. So I'm going to let it start searing, and when it's to the color that it needs to be, I'm going to hop back on and I'm going to show you guys what I mean. Okay? All right. See you soon. All right. So as you can see, we're in full fry mode over here. And these ones are done. So you can see, let me lift one up. You see the color that we're, whoa, whoopsie. All right. Let's try this again. See the color that we're going for on them? And as the chicken starts to sear, they'll shrink up a little bit. So you see that I got a little space over here. It's gonna come down with the wings. And that's pretty much the first step. So we're going to get all our chicken nice and deep brown sear on both sides of all our chicken. And you know, this part is pretty tedious. There's really nothing you can do. You just brown them, flip them. When they're done, you're going to just set them aside in another little bowl and just keep on searing them. Now we're just searing them. Don't go trying to eat this chicken. It's not done, okay? It's just nice and brown on the outside, but the inside is very, very much raw, okay? So we're just going to continue searing off all our pieces of chicken. Got quite a few left to go. As I said before, I like to do the dark meat, then I go on to the wings, and then I do all my breast pieces and the back pieces. And then when I'm done searing up all the chicken, we'll move to the next step. Okay, you guys, so I've done seared up all my chicken. Let me show you what it looks like. You see how pretty the color we get here, and I feel like that has a lot to do with that paprika. And like I said, this is not done. Like even checking this piece here, this is taking a while to grab, a breast piece here. You can see that it is not finished. Okay, so this is what's left behind. We've got quite a bit of burn from the searing, and what I like to do, this is going to make a noise here, I'm going to get rid of these pieces. So this is the garlic that we had in there. We're going to get rid of all that burn piece. And then we're also going to scrape up some of the burn that's left at the bottom. Not all, because this is a lot of flavor. We just don't want too much because we don't want it to become bitter. And we're also going to pour off a little bit of the oil, but not all, because we don't want to get rid of all that flavor that we built from searing the chicken. So I'm going to take my wooden spoon. Now be careful because it's hot. See, I'm using an oven mitt to hold on to the pan really tightly as I scrape. And then I'm just gonna pour off some of it right next door in this pan here. So you see, Just a tiny bit of oil is left at the bottom here. Now, I'm gonna go right in with about a heaping teaspoon of brown sugar. And as you can see, because I had actually turned the fire down, I'm gonna turn it back up to get it hot. So we're gonna scrape that right on in. We're gonna add a couple squirts of regular schmegular ketchup. Boom, boom. So I did 2 squirts of ketchup. And I kind of use this to sort of deglaze the pan with all of the rest of the burn and the flavor that we had down here. So right now we're just, as you can see, we're making like a paste with the ketchup and the brown sugar, and it has that pretty color. Okay. Sorry, had to grab some water. Okay, so now right down into this. Now remember this pot that we, this bowl that we seasoned the chicken in with the garlic and the Scotch bonnet pepper and the thyme? I'm just gonna do about a half a cup of spring water in here. Yeah, no, this is about a cup. And I'm going to use it, swish it around, get all that extra seasoning that's stuck on the side off the pan. Pour that in there. And that will also help me to scrape up all the nice bits of flavor that's stuck into the pan. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to add in a piece of ginger, about half a thumb-sized piece. And I did not crush it or mince it because I just want to get the flavor out. And when we serve our chicken, we'll actually just, you know, fish this out. So I'm just going to drop that right in there, as well as another 2 cloves of garlic, right? Because I put the water in there, it cooled the pot down. Okay. And then I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and then I'm gonna throw my chicken in. Okay, so let's check back in. It's just about getting there. We might not even have to cut out here. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. See, started to boil. Doesn't have to be a full-on boil. So we're not gonna go. I'm staying. I'm moving on. Then easy. I'm just gonna take this chicken that I just browned up, and I'm just going to put it right back with all this, as well as all the drippings that dripped off of it as we were waiting for the rest to sear. Put this right back in the pot. Shift everybody around gently. Everybody a nice little place here. And that's all we're going to do for now. We're going to cover this up. My top at. We're going to bring our heat down to medium. And then we're going to go over, we're going to chop up the rest of the veggies and the spices. That's going to go in our stewed chicken. Okay. So as our chicken is in the pot and has begun stewing, we're going to start prepping our fresh vegetables / season for our chicken. Now, Jamaicans, so I have one, let me just say, we have 1 plum tomato here. We're just going to bring it down into quarters. We don't even have to dice it, not quarters, I mean strips. You don't have to dice it or chop it up or anything. I'm gonna put it in this little bowl I got to the side here. Now, also going to do a half of a green pepper, or whatever pepper you have or want to use, should be fine. Now, in Jamaica, when we say season, we don't only mean powdered seasoning. We consider bell pepper, scallion, onion, even tomato, we consider that seasoning.
So just like the tomatoes, just gonna come down, you know, strips. And pretty much this part, you could cut it however you want to cut it, but these little strips are actually just fine for me. Also going to do 2 pimento peppers, or as we say in the West Indies, these are called seasoned peppers. Now they're kind of soft because I have quite a few of them. I buy them as much as I can buy them when I get them, and then I keep them in the freezer. And that's the same way I do my Scotch bonnets as well. And those seasoned peppers that I just chopped up, they are sort of like, they have the flavor of a Scotch bonnet without the heat. So I actually love those peppers. I like to garnish with those peppers. I like to do so much with those peppers. There's nowhere those peppers can't go with the flavor of a Scotch bonnet without the heat. I mean, what more do you need? Okay, so this is just 2 green onions here, rough chop. Boom, boom, boom. And in the meanwhile, the chicken is starting to stew with some of the water that we added in there, and it's also going to start to make its own water as well, spring water from itself. And so this is about, I want to say a medium sized onion. Just gonna come down and just slice it same way we did the tomato and the pepper. Just slice, and like I said, if you want to chop, you can definitely chop this as well, but these vegetables are just going to stew all the way down with the chicken, and so it really doesn't matter how you chop it. And so here's everything. I'm also going to add another, let me just rinse it off because I didn't, another sprig of thyme, and I have the Scotch bonnet that I have left over from when I seasoned the chicken. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple pieces more. Now you don't have to if you're not a spice person, but I do like to have that little taste of spice in my food. So I'm gonna start with that much more of the Scotch bonnet. I'm gonna put it to a side just in case I might wanna add more, but that'll probably be about it here. So now we're gonna go over to the pot and we're gonna add our veggies in. We're gonna taste our sauce and see where we're at, and we'll go from there. Okay, so as you can see, we had our chicken that has begun stewing. I'm gonna come underneath and pick up some of this gravy that's under here. And now, as you can see, I don't have a whole lot of moisture in here. I'm going to continue to add more, but you never want to add too much water at a time because you're not making soup, okay? All right, a stew should not look like you are making soup, okay? You just want to add enough water to keep everything moist and to continue the cooking process, but you never want to add too much water because then you're boiling it and you're boiling out most of the flavor. The things that you add in are going to release its own moisture, and you want to allow it to do that without watering it down with too much moisture. So we're going to add all our veggies, and these veggies are also going to release a lot of moisture, especially like the tomato and the bell pepper and the onion. It's going to also release a bunch of moisture into the stew. So as you can see, I'm still not adding any more water to the stew as yet. And I'm just going over the top with 1 chicken bouillon cube. Okay. Right over everything like that. I'm going to use my oven mitts, and I'm actually going to just shake the pot. Because at this point, as the chicken starts to get soft, we don't want to turn it too much with the spoon because we don't want to break up our pieces. So we could just try to, hold on with your mitts and kind of give it a stir to make sure that nothing's sticking. Okay. Now I started with a 16.9 bottle of spring water. I had poured half in there when we first put our chicken in. I'm going to pour just another half well, a little more than a half of what was left in the bottle. I'm not going to taste it yet. I'm going to lock this up so we can get back to a simmer. Let the veggies and the seasoning start to release their flavors, and then we're going to taste our sauce and see if we need to add anything or not. Okay guys, so this has been going for about 15, let's see, wait, 16, no, about 18 minutes since I added all our veggies. You can see how they got really soft, and I'm just going to gently push it back to the side to bring some of this gravy underneath over top. And as you can see, along with the water that we added, that the vegetables actually added some water themselves. Now I'm going to do that same trick I told you guys before. Going to hold the pot on both sides and just kind of swirl it around to get everything fully incorporated. See how nice that look? And if I didn't mention before, I think I did, but let me mention again, I have my fire on a medium heat. Okay, now we're gonna head and taste this bad boy and see where we're at. This gravy is absolutely perfect. That extra Scotch bonnet in there is definitely good. I don't need to add any more of that. I'm just gonna push it aside again. Go ahead. Just keep rehydrating everybody on the top. And like I said, the more concentrated you keep this gravy, the better it will be. You do not want to water this down too much. It is not soup. It should not be swimming in water. So now, our little tiny bit of water that we have left in here, now we can go ahead and add that, okay? And this will be all the moisture we're gonna need for this stewed chicken, okay? All the flavors there, the spices there, that bouillon cube, just hit it with just the amount of salt that it needed to finish off. And there is actually one more ingredient that I like to add to my stewed chicken. Now, this isn't necessarily traditional, and this isn't something I saw my mom adding. This is something that I added to it. One of my favorite condiments, this sweet soy sauce. And like, I used this for my sweet chili lime sauce, and like I said before, it's sort of like soy sauce syrup. Now, if you can't find this, that's okay, because this actually tastes good just how it is right now. You know, you can probably add a little bit more brown sugar and about a teaspoon or so of soy sauce to get this flavor. But like I said, if you can't get this stewed chicken right now is popping right now as it is. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, tilt my pan again, try to spread that sweet soy all throughout. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, do our little swish around trick again of the pot. Okay. All right. Just gonna flip some of our pieces over on their prettier side, because even when I'm not eating it, I enjoy my pot looking pretty. Okay. This guy wanna act up. There you go. And now I'm going to turn our fire down to medium low. Okay. And then we're just gonna let it slow stew the rest of the way. And then I'm gonna come back and check in. You might wanna just check on it periodically, maybe every 10 minutes or so, just to make sure there's still moisture. But if it's at a medium low, it should not dry out the moisture all the way. It should just continue to slow cook. You could just come back ever so often to check on it, you know, rehydrate the tops of everything, do our little swish technique until it's done. And at this point, it's pretty much almost done. So let's cover it up so it can do its thing. So right now I'm just checking in on it, guys. I'm just showing it to you. This is about on the 15th minute mark since I came back and checked, and we added our sweet soy. And as you can see, it's pretty much just slow simmering down. Our veggies are soft. The chicken is definitely super tender at this point. All we're pretty much waiting for is just for our gravy to just sort of thicken up just a tad bit more. Shouldn't be any much longer than about 10 minutes from this point. So I let it go for another, I did more than 10. I did about 15, and like I said, it's at about between 3 and 4 on my notch. And I just want to show you what I mean by the gravy thickening a bit. See what I mean? You don't want it to dry all the way out. You don't want it to be watery. You want it to be at a nice consistency where it will coat your rice or whatever you're eating it with. So, see what I'm saying? Not too thick, but not too thin either. And things always tend to thicken up once they cool down. So essentially, this is what this gravy is going to do as well. So at this point, I'm gonna go and turn my fire off. And the stewed chicken is done, guys.
So that was my Jamaican style brown stew chicken recipe. As always, I do hope you guys enjoy making it as much as I know you'll enjoy eating it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube page so you can know when I drop new videos and new recipes. Now, I'm just frying up some plantains in the background right now to finish up my Sunday dinner, and I'm gonna go ahead and tend to that before them bun up. All right, guys, happy cooking.